Hello, everyone who's listening to our podcast, Seed, Soil, and Soul, and to those who have tuned in to our interview. Today is our next installment of our Sacred Speaker Session for the annual Sacred Waters Retreat for Women of Color. I'm the visionary and founder, Osunnike Sobande Greer, bringing you another installment for today. And we've had a long weekend. We've had some sunshine here in Tennessee. And so today with the sunshine, I am bringing to you a very special guest, my spiritual godmother for a little more than 20 years now, Queen Mother Osunnike Scott-Manna Anke. You are going to know her. Many of you will not, but after this video and after this podcast audio, and after some of you attend the annual Sacred Waters Retreat this year, you will be in for a treat for the depth and the clarity and the transparency that she brings to sisters all over the planet. So, Mother, it is not only my privilege to be your goddaughter, but it is a privilege to have you on this interview with me for this annual Sacred Waters Retreat. So good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you. What a wonderful daughter.
Thank you. I'm still a work in progress.
That's called life.
I'm a work in progress. Somebody told me I was a preemie elder the other day. So
you are.
I'm a work in progress. Mother, for those of you, for those that don't know who you are and what you do and your background, could you introduce yourself and just give the audience a little bit about yourself?
Wow. Introduce myself. I'm here to be of service. What I normally focus on as the co-founder of an organization with my husband and I called Institute of Whole Life Healing is really working with folks around the world in terms of integrating the wholeness of self. The area that I have focused most on over the past maybe 35 years has been working with women and the sacred feminine. And then narrowing that down to, in terms of the sacred feminine, working with the womb and the interconnectedness and power that we as women on this planet and in so many different galaxies known as the feminine, the power that we bring. And so that's where my passion is, that's where my commitment is, and that's where my journey has been over the years.
Could you tell the audience about some of the special programs that you have committed yourself to honoring and exposing to women?
Yes. Well, how it started becoming more formalized over the years, and this was right around the time, actually, when I met you and moved to Kentucky. I started really saying, okay, I'm going to answer a particular calling that had been reappearing to me over the years prior to that. And I got to Kentucky and it was like, okay, it is now time to support women in rebirthing themselves and reconnecting with this sacred energy that some know as the Great Mother. And so formalizing that, I answered the call to facilitate as a spiritual midwife, a journey called the Sacred Feminine Mysteries, initiation into the priesthood. And that is about rebirthing the energy of the Great Mother. And so that's an initiation for women that has been going on now for probably 16, 17 years. And along with that, taking that to the next level, several years ago, the mothers said to me, I refer to them as the ancient mothers, said to me, Osunnike, this is wonderful working with these smaller groups of women. However, the time is upon us now to reach a larger group. And so that mission came as 1 million wombs united. And that's working with a critical mass of women around the world, healing, liberating, igniting the power within our wombs to really contribute consciously to the healing and evolution of humanity. So those are the two major key pieces. And then I also work with women in sacred group settings to do the work that's really necessary to heal our wombs and a lot of the trauma that we've been carrying intergenerationally within our wombs. So those become very sacred weekend healing, womb healing retreats to heal that trauma and to then begin liberating the sacred feminine power.
Do you find that the work that you've been charged to do with women catapults your own femininity to the next level?
Oh, yes. Because there's responsibility with that. You know, one of the things that I want to say that also challenged me when I received this calling was that for several years prior to saying, okay, I'm going to do this, I was having difficulty with my own womb, dealing with fibroid tumors. And it was very confusing because I had gone from, you know, just a regular kind of eating person, food eating person, to really working with going vegetarian, vegan, raw, juice fasting, Chinese herbs, you name it. I did everything. And 3 times had to wind up having surgical procedures, which was very confusing to me, seeing that I thought I was doing everything holistically, naturally to heal myself. However, I was being called to step into what I call the next octave of my beingness, and to really understand at a much deeper, much higher level what it means to be a womb man in this lifetime, at this time, on this planet, and to better understand that and take responsibility for that, for my own continued healing across the board, and honoring my power in the healthiest ways possible, remembering how I had misused that power in other lifetimes, and truth be told, I don't know how many people are listening, but a little bit in this lifetime, and to take responsibility for that across the board as my continued evolution and growth. So it wasn't just about, you know, oh, going out here and trying to help everybody else to get it together. No, on this journey, it's also continues to expose each and every one of us, especially those who are moving into eldership, which I'm an elder, but probably mid-elder, you know, and still listening to my elders who are approaching their 100th year and what have you, to really honor that wisdom and be responsible for carrying this on. So it's an ongoing process for all of us. Yeah.
How do you feel or think this generation of women have lost? Lost is really not the word I want to use, but lost is the thing I can think of right now. How do you think this generation of women and girls have lost themselves? And do you think or feel like it's different than the way my generation lost itself, or your generation, or even your mother's generation lost itself? Like, what do you think is the still one of the threads that weaves those generations of women together? What is it that we still have not found the answer to, in terms of our going deeper and really getting real true sense of what our healing needs to look like?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and one that I continue working with day to day, as a daughter, as a mother, as a grandmother. What else is it that we are needing? And one of the things that comes to mind is understanding. This may sound simple or woo-woo or whatever. Really, and it's not even understanding, knowing the true depth of our sacredness, of our originality, of our power, of this physical being, especially for the feminine, the female, being this temple. And we have lost that. For many years, my generation before me, we had an understanding a little bit in terms of what it meant to be a powerful woman. And then through, what they talk about in terms of patriarchy and how we bought into that and what have you, we began to lose some of that. And then in the reclaiming, supposedly, of that, we've kind of gone to the other extreme. And now, the generation that we're dealing with now, and a little bit in terms of your generation, became the angry, vindictive Black woman who, I know who I am, I'm in charge, I'm gonna punish you, I'm gonna make you pay, or using our power in the most unhealthy, destructive ways, our sensuality, our sexuality, it's up in your face, it's my body, I'm gonna do with it what I wanna do with it. All of that, it's like we've gone to the other extreme. And this is a time of really helping even our mothers out, because they're angry too. Some of them, they were stifled, didn't know how to express it, just took the abuse, passed it on to us. But my generation, your generation, the grandchildren, a lot of these new ones that are coming in, they're not even carrying this stuff. They are so unique, so fresh, so different, and they need to be really protected, because all of the stuff that many of us are still carrying and dealing with, they're looking at us like, what? What is that about? Why are you doing that? What's wrong with you? Don't you know who you are? So I believe that we've gone to the extreme, and it's about coming back into this balance of understanding what true feminine power is, which is not about force, push, blame, anger. It's about transmutation. It's about understanding your sacred medicine and how to use it in the healthiest, highest vibration possible, through the law of cause and effect. I think that that's what we have lost and taken to the other extreme. And going back to our natural roots is my responsibility and your responsibility, to make sure that those behind us, those that have come through us, are able to really get it, because the power that they hold and that they can use is 100 times more intense, more viable than mine, yours, because it just keeps intensifying. And do we want to use that intensity for good or not good?
Do you think that has anything to do with the awakening that the planet is feeling globally with let's see, the last, I would say the last, for me, at least the last 8 to 10 years, and definitely the last 5 years, there has been this big awakening of mother showing up everywhere, the theme of mother showing up everywhere, in everything. Marketing, it's as if books have been hidden and they've now been uncovered, and
yes.
People who didn't read are now reading. This theme of mother seems to be flowing. Well, it's really not flowing. It feels like a tsunami.
Yeah, good word.
Yeah, it feels like a tsunami. It feels like there's just been a tsunami of the mother energy in these last 5 to 8 years, or maybe 8 to 10 years. Do you think that has anything to do with what is what's coming, or what has already been here and is now fully awakened, and it's just, the energy is just waiting for those to catch up, those people to catch up, to join in, to take a hold, to see with new eyes?
Yes.
How do you feel that shift is changing the way we see the world in our everyday lives?
Yes. Well, you hit it right on. This is definitely that time of awakening, reawakening, for all of us. No one can really remain asleep at this time that we're on the planet. The intensity of it, however, is where we are most challenged, because everyone is being called to awaken. However, that intensity can either intensify extreme rigidity. So certain religions, it's like, oh, I have to really do this with this deep religiosity so that this will save me. So-and-so is returning, coming back. This is what was predicted. This is the end of the world. Those kinds of things. Those who then have watched this and seen this for a long time, and who've been some of the manipulators around keeping others asleep, are really intensifying their power as much as they possibly can to keep everybody else asleep. And then there are those with that intensity where it is just so much that, you know, some opt out, like, I'm out. This is too much. Not able to handle it. So there's a lot of different upheaval and uproar with all of this at this new time that we're in. However, the other piece of this is that with this reawakening that we're all being called into, there's that part of us that does know how to be in the eye of the storm. And that is what is extremely important and necessary for us to share with others, how to be in the eye of the storm and not get caught up in the intensity of it, but to go in to that place of peace, of mindfulness, of knowingness, so that we can float above all of this wildness and madness. That's one of the key secrets. And many of our indigenous traditions and knowledge and elders understood this, because this is not new. This is part of the recurrent cycle of, you know, birth, life, death, creation, manifestation, transformation. So maybe a little more intense right now. However, we can get through it by practicing some of these natural parts of us that we're being called to remember.
I was speaking to an elder a few weeks ago who was mentioning that that the energy at this point on our planet is at critical mass. Mm-hmm. That although there was the illusion of things are bad, they're really, you know, that things are really bad. It's just every time you turn around, every time you turn on the TV, you listen to the radio, you talk to somebody, you know, everything's just bad, you know, not just here in the United States, it's bad on the planet. Mm-hmm. She reminded me that that's about perception. That's about perspective.
Yes.
About what are you putting out into the universe that transforms that energy.
Yes.
And so I say that to ask the question, do you feel like this is the time, or has it always, do you feel like it's always been, this planet has globally always has always been in a period of this is now the time to work and perform at your highest and your greatest good, to elevate not only yourself, but to put in the energy or ask for the prayers that elevation be made, you know, for everyone, so that, you know, everyone's kind of pouring into the same pot. Mm-hmm. Almost. Or do you feel like that energy is just being contained and it's just, you know, it's still kind of trembling, it's still kind of waiting for an explosion? And then what happens? What happens after it explodes? Are we in that explosive period of transformation, of knowledge, of change, of really personifying what unconditional love looks like? Mm-hmm. So there's so many emotions involved in that. How does one person move in a way in their everyday lives that can shift the energy of that pot? Mm-hmm. how can one person move to pour more into that pot instead of taking?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know that's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah, it is. And it's true. And I would say that it is both. We're functioning in the now moment, and there is also all of this tremendous upheaval, chaos, and what have you that is going on around us, that is a part of the breakthrough, the rebirthing for all of us. For instance, when a woman is in labor, giving birth, there is trauma, there is chaos, there is all kinds of crazy that's going on as this being is making its way into the world. So this is a wonderful thing that's happening. This life is coming through this tunnel into this realm of reality. That's wonderful. However, in that moment, as that mother is feeling those pains, her insides feeling like they're being ripped open, that baby being pushed and forced through that tunnel, like, wait a minute, I was just in this nice comfort place, just chilling and what have you, and now where are we going? What's going on? All of this stuff. And then you've got this wonderful, if you're blessed, you've got this wonderful group of women, midwives, healers around you saying, come on, baby, come on, just focus on that breath, because in that breath, you are in the moment. You are in the present. You are in your power. In the midst of all of this pain and stress and what have you, you can do this. So this is happening simultaneously. The chaos, the stress, the craziness, all of that, because there is a transformation that is taking place, that always takes place. That upheaval, that shaking, that rumbling, that craziness. Is that real, or is that just Memorex? It really doesn't matter. It's happening. You feel it, you see it, you smell it, you taste it, all of that. How do you tap into that space within us? And we all know how to do that. And some of us focus or refer to it as the breath. Taking that breath and realizing that this is real and it's not real all at the same time. What is most real is that I am, and I have the capacity, the ability, no matter what, to come through this and move into the highest essence of who I am. If one person can hold on to that, can remember that, can honor that, and mirror that for someone else, that's where the power is. That one reaches that one, reaches that one, reaches that one, and reawakens and reminds. And that's why through that laboring process, when you have those that are around you reminding you, you got this, you got this, you can do this. Oh, come back, look at me, look at me, look at me, breathe, come on, we can do this, we can do this. Oh, you are so powerful. Oh, you are so magnificent. which is the truth of who you are in the midst of all of this gut-wrenching pain. And then that life comes through after all that turmoil and looks at you, gives a little smile, and you realize, wow, what a precious moment. I had the mothers say to me during a healing session that I was receiving 20 years ago, 18 years ago, find the ecstasy in the tragedy. Huh? What? That's ridiculous. That's an oxymoron. And truth be told, that's still a challenge for me at times. However, it's like extracting the diamonds from the dung and composting. What do we take from that? What is within us? What are the glimmers, the glimpses that we can extract from that? What does it invoke and evoke from us, seeing all of this madness and craziness, and rather than aligning with that, extracting the beauty that is within us? That's a high calling.
That's heavy magic.
Heavy magic. That's what I'm talking about.
That's heavy inner magic. That's
and it's
tragedy,
within us.
The tragedy in the ecstasy, or the ecstasy in the tragedy.
Yes. Yes. What does it bring forth, bring through, bring out, activate, reactivate within us?
Well, with that being said, Mother, what will you be doing to give ladies a glimpse of to look for the ecstasy in their tragedy for the retreat?
Well, it's just going to be a glimpse. When we are able to taste, feel, sense, touch, hear, see just a little bit of that feminine power, just to access a little bit of that, then it makes one curious. It makes one curious, and especially when you know that that resides within you. So to get a glimpse of that, to utilize and access some of the tools that help us to start to remember that amazing power, keeps us on that journey of uncovering, accessing, weaving together. Another quick thing I want to share with you about that. Many years ago, I had an experience during a breath session. And I was doing this breath work, and I was in a group with other people, everybody laying on the floor, doing this breath work. And so I'm breathing. And all of a sudden, I reached this point where all of a sudden, I started feeling this orgasmic energy. Now, we have people that try to explain to us what orgasm is, but none of us really know orgasm until you've experienced orgasm. And then there's no description for true orgasm. You can't describe that. You can try to pull words and, roll your eyes around, move your mouth like, but orgasm is unexplainable. I started experiencing what may be called orgasm, something reawakening within my belly, my thighs, my buttocks. It was shocking. It brought tears. It took me to a place that I was trying to figure out how I'm in this place. Where am I? And it was exhilarating. It also felt otherworldly and like some kind of power I had never experienced before that I wouldn't even call power. I wouldn't even link it to that word. It was like allness. And within a split second, I then felt pain, like a searing pain. And that snapped me out of that place. And then I became embarrassed because I was wondering, oh my goodness, was I making sounds? Was I moving my body? Did other people see this? What was going on? And everybody was in their own world. But that awakened, that awakened something in me that was there that made me curious about what is this? And what was the pain associated with it? That was part of my conscious journey to then start understanding more of the feminine vessel, that power that comes with this, how this magic is reflected in the universe, cosmic womb, and how that all ties in. That was one of the first times of getting a glimpse of the magnitude of what this temple is, called female. And all righty then, sign me up.
Many of us have had that experience. We probably couldn't describe it so elegantly. And many of us have experienced it and not known what it was attributed to and how it really works and
what to do with it.
And ultimately that energy led us down some dark roads, some dark paths, and a lot of dances with our shadow selves, with not a bad thing, I don't think, but I guess when you don't understand how the other side of you operates, it could be detrimental, to your health and welfare.
Yeah.
And in saying that too, and listening to you describe that, Mother, our sacred feminine has been made to feel so shameful.
Yes.
The energy of just being feminine has been so suppressed and pushed down and cast away and put behind the door. And no, we don't talk about that. And it's just been a lock and key. Mm-hmm. It's been a lock and key situation. And so it's going to be a great experience to have sisters at Sacred Waters who are experiencing and have experienced the same things generationally and have not understood the power of their own femininity and how to embrace it and really love it. That's a hard journey. It's still even for me. it's still a hard journey to find that soft spot
Yes.
within yourself. I found myself this morning during my prayer work, asking Oshun for today to provide me with a little bit more soft places to fall,
Mm-hmm.
and so that I could reflect that softness in just my everyday movement. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a huge vessel, and I'm glad that you're going to be there to drive the car.
Well, I'm bringing the ancient mothers with me, so
Ladies, I'm telling
us.
you, if you're in for a treat if you have not experienced the divine feminine on a rocket ship level. Get ready, because it definitely will allow you to go within you to find you and explore you and come back out, and some of you may be ready to go a little deeper, and some of you may be a little afraid, but I will say to you, don't let your fears hold you hostage anymore. Don't let your fears hold you hostage from your growth anymore.
Absolutely. I just want to add one thing to what you were saying in terms of that softness, because oftentimes those who have been through so many different trials, pain, difficulty, we've been conditioned to protect ourselves. And so softness has one of those connotations in terms of being weak. So one of the things that I like to do with some of the terminology we use, which can automatically start turning people off, because soft means weak, and I don't have no time to be weak because I got to take care of such and such and such and such, and this is what happens to soft, weak people. So it's about being able to be pliable. It's about being able to know how to flow, the ebbs and the tides, and the magic that's connected with that mystery, and how to be in that. That's some serious power. There's nothing weak about that. When you know what's under the soft tissue and what lives in there, that you might be able to, push on that, and that bends in. But what's underneath that? Those bones, those arteries, those vessels, those meridians, that's life. That's life force that's living in there. And so we need to be able to understand that, because other than that, we see the feminine in this place of weakness, and that's how it was taken advantage of and destroyed and shut down, and all of these different things. When you realize that being able to understand this powerful, especially this womb and the womb connection with everything else, when you understand how 1 minute you can go into the ocean, you used that word earlier on, the tsunami, 1 minute you can go into the ocean and just walk along the shore and throw water on yourself, and it's so nice, and what have you. And then the next minute, those waves are coming up and crashing and tearing down walls. Excuse me? Excuse me? Where is that power coming from? that wind that is just gently blowing, and the trees are, and then that hurricane comes, that fire, that warmth, that is, oh, so nice, so nice. Oh, let me put my hands, and then that blaze that can tear a whole constructed building down to ashes. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. So that is within us. And that feminine, is really about how you honor that, how you flow with that, how you balance that. Yeah.
How do you think the power of ritual helps to, how do you feel that the power of ritual helps to align you in that energy? Or do you need the power of ritual to do that?
I think we do need the power of ritual, because ritual gives us the tools and the elements to work with that. And it gives us that in a sacred way. It's like when you understand the power of something, ritual is about, how do you work with that power? I remember years ago hearing this shaman talk about how he was an anthropologist and then went to Peru and just got pulled into nature. And so started working with the shamans. And he watched these shamans and was trying to learn these rituals, going into the forest and what have you. And so he was there for about 5 years, still receiving this tutelage. And he said whenever he would go into the forest, all of a sudden, he'd step in 3 feet and he would try to be honoring and what have you. And all the animals, the insects, everything in the forest would get quiet. And he was like, what just happened? And the shamans were like, they hear you coming in, they feel you coming in, they see you coming in, even from a distance. And, they're like, be quiet till he leaves. Stay still till he leaves. And he said one day he's still practicing the rituals and what have you, 5 years. He walked into the forest, and about 10 feet in, he realized that there was still all this noise going on and it hadn't stopped. And he was trying to figure out, like, what just happened? And so the elders told him when he came out of the forest and he had done all the rituals, you have become the forest. You have become one and in alignment with everything that occupies the forest. And you have now incorporated and become aligned with all of these rituals so that you're not practicing them anymore. You're being them. Now, I still try to play with that to this day. I'll go outside in my backyard or whatever, and I'll try to be one with everything and see if the squirrels will not run away. And, over the past 20 years, maybe the squirrel will stay for a minute and kind of look and say, and then it's gone. So I don't know, maybe I've made some progress. I don't know. Maybe they didn't run immediately, but that's the journey, becoming one with everything. And ritual helps us so that becomes second nature. Natural.
Focus at Sacred Waters is providing an intimate space that is safe
Mhm.
for Black and Brown women to come to reconnect, and for many of them, more than half of them, who don't even know that they need to reconnect. They've never disconnected to reconnect.
Yes.
A bigger part of the weekend will be spent allowing these ladies to see that they can disconnect, and then that they can reconnect to something that actually fills them up. It provides some additional tools that they can use that are not going to add, not going to add something to their chore list, but something that really inspires and encourages them to want to see things differently.
Yes.
As women, we talk about all the things that we want to manifest, that we want to see. We have these plans on top of plans on top of plans for life, and a lot of those plans go awry because we don't see the value in having a ritual towards getting the plan. Now, I know somebody listening to this or watching this may say, well, I wanted to be a doctor, so I planned for that. I went to school. I did I did my 12 years of school. And so that's a different type of plan. I'm talking about working your master plan, your spiritual plan, what's in your best interest that people can't physically see inside of you.
Yes.
How are you moving in your everyday life that shines a little light? I guess that's the best way for me to say it. That shines a little light, that someone walks up to you and says, there is something I just don't know what it is about you.
Yes.
I think it's at that junction that when that becomes more of the norm, we begin to see that we get to see our own value. We get to see our own worth. We get to see that we matter. And we may have heard it, or we may not have heard it. A lot of us have not heard that we matter. And we've tried to convince ourselves that we matter. Yes. We're doing it on the wrong platform. We're doing it the wrong way, I think. I don't think the tools that we've had have been ones that really can build the structure we need to sustain us. And I think too, we get caught, and I'm speaking from experience, that we get caught sometimes in the trivial pursuit of what we think will make us happy, when really it's all about what's your foundation? What is your foundation?
Yes.
Sobande, are you standing on sand or are you standing on concrete?
Right.
Are you standing on sand or are you standing on concrete? So one of the last questions that I want to ask you is, do you find it useful that there should be places and spaces for Black and Brown women to gather so that they do not find and have the pressures of society and what they're accustomed to in their everyday lives, their jobs, their, whatever it is that they're doing in this everyday world, walking through this world as a Black and Brown woman is not easy.
No.
So do you find that there's some good, that there's some good in having a safe space for Black and Brown women to gather for their own healing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's important to be able to be with those who recognize your life, and the different layers, levels of your life, and to be seen in that way. And so that, I believe, is essential so that you can retrace some of the patterns of who you are, or who it's been said that you are, and trace that together, and then unpack what needs to be unpacked together, and then retrace that in a whole new way, and being able to have that strength. I think that's essential. In addition to that, I think that we do our work based on, first, our tribes, our family, our origin, and then to be able to also expand that. I think women of color being able to come together and do the things that I just shared, as look like, feel like, taste like, experience like. I think it's also important for males to be able to be in their own tribe, their similarities, all of that, and then at some point to be able to expand into larger tribes, larger groups with this kind of intimacy, this kind of connection, to explore not only what are some of the similarities, but to explore the differences from a whole different place. A place of personal healing that has been started. An example, I work with a lot of couples, doing couple healing. And one of the things that I used to say years ago when I first started doing this work was that healthy individuals make healthier couples. So to have a couple come and just be going at each other, you know, this is pissing me off, you did this, you did that, that oftentimes doesn't work in the best way, or can take really extended periods of time to get to. So you've got to work with one person and then this other person to understand their perspectives, create safety for them, create a space where they know that they're valued, they're honored, they're heard, all of those things, before then bringing them together to be able to see and hopefully acknowledge the other's perspective. And from that place, you understand that pain is pain. Joy is joy. It's just from different perspectives. That becomes the next level for healing. So where do we start? We start with self. And then reflections of self to create even a greater sacred womb space to explore the challenges and rejoice over those magnificent diamonds that have been extracted from these challenges, which some refer to as dung.
That's the cleanup version of that.
Yes.
You ladies will get the real version when you're on site in person.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Well, Mother, lastly, I want you to tell everyone where they can find you if they want to contact you, your website, your email. Are you on any social media? Or if you're on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, just let everybody know how they can locate you.
Okay, so let me start from the end and move forward.
Okay.
So I just learned how to spell Facebook, Twitter, and I still haven't learned how to spell Instagram. So yeah, I'm on Facebook, but please don't reach out to me on Facebook because you might think I'm ignoring you because I'm very rarely out there. So the best way to reach me is at the website called Many Paths, Paths with an S, one, the number one, the numeral one, truth.org. Many Paths, onetruth.org. And the email is Ashe, spelled A-S-E, healing at msn.com.
You know my mother's an elder if she still has an MSN account, y'all. So don't I don't want y'all to don't send me
that Gmail it pops up every now and then. Yes, I have a Gmail account because of daughters like this one. But my comfort zone is MSN.
She's still with MSN. That's all right. Yeah, we understand. I've seen somebody still with an AOL account. So.
Oh yes, as a matter of fact, my sister. Yes, my birth sister still has her AOL account. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think AOL was still working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, for those of you who have tuned into the podcast, or you're listening to the podcast, or you've tuned into this interview for this Sacred Speaker session, this is for our annual Sacred Waters Retreat for Women of Color. It is held annually May 22nd through the 24th, 2020. Every Memorial Day weekend, you can find us in the beautiful rolling hills of Tennessee. We're in a place called Dover, Tennessee, which sits on some sacred land called Land Between the Lakes, or Kentucky Lake. And we're gonna gather for that weekend on about 500 plus federal acres of land. We have the entire grounds to ourselves and the beautiful lake. There will be lots of things to do. And it is an intimate gathering held for 100 women only. We have about 58 spaces left, and it's already February, so tickets really begin to move during this month. If you are sitting on the fence about whether or not to attend, I would suggest that you simply ask yourself, is this the place that you're supposed to be? Sacred Waters Retreat is not for every woman. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that it may not be your time, and it may not be your preferred path. Women who show up for Sacred Waters are really looking for some deeper connections and some deeper levels of learning ritual and how to heal themselves. So if you feel that this is a space that you want to share with 99 other women intimately, now is your time. You can visit our website at www.sacredwatersretreat.com. Click on Tennessee. There you will see all of the speakers, and if you click on their faces, their beautiful faces, you will also see their bios. We are also still seeking vendors, Black and brown women who are in business, who are looking to expand their brand. We only take 15 exhibitors in our Sacred Emporium, and it's because Sacred Waters Retreat is not a weekend for who's going to look the flyest and how many vendors can we get to come. It is about showcasing Black and brown women who are doing things in their lives that are changing the face and the shape of how Black women achieve success and what success really can look like in the form of community. So we have 10 spaces available in our Sacred Emporium. If you know a sister that has products or a service that is worth sharing with others, please direct her to her website. We are also still looking for sponsors who want to support marginalized women coming from marginalized communities. We have a Sacred Sisters Scholarship Program. I believe in the next 5 years, I will be able to offer 20 fully paid scholarships to the retreat. At this point, I can only offer 5 partial ones, and it's because of the donations that we receive from sponsors who want to step in the gap to help marginalized sisters in communities that may not have the opportunity to come to an event like this. Sacred Waters is a 3-day retreat. It is $495. It includes your lodging, your meals, all of your workshops, all of your activities. And I do need to plug that there are no concurrent workshops. I've designed this event so that as women, we move together through every hard spot. We move together through every challenge. We move together through every joy and every tear. We spend most of our lives being told that we've got to do it ourselves. We've got to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. Sometimes we become the crabs in the barrel. And I want to undo that process mentally for us and emotionally. So if you're challenged with being an introvert, please don't let that stop you. We're going to show you what real community looks like. We're going to show you what the bonds of sisterhood looks like. You can find Sacred Waters on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and via our website, I believe. So that's all that I have for you all today. If you have any questions, you can shoot us an email at eventdirectorsacredwatersretreat@gmail.com, or you can give us a call at 615-499-6849. I should be able to answer most of your emails and most of your calls within 48 to 72 hours. If I don't, please charge it to my head and not my heart. Thank you again for taking some time out of your busy schedule to say a few words and to introduce yourself to those who will be listening to this podcast and watching this interview. I appreciate you. I love you. I support you. And I want to thank you for everything that you continue to give to me, mind, body, and spirit. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Sobande. And I am so excited about this journey, and also want to encourage the women to say yes, and know that you're going to be taken to the edge, and support it, because the time is now.
I like that. The time is now.
Time is now.
Everybody, remember this week as you move through each day to be reminded of whose shoulders you stand on, that it was those pennies and those dimes and those candies and those smiles and those hugs that got you to the next moment. And remember that you are doing this work for the future generation, for a reflection of the goodness in the world. Remember to manifest everything that you need on purpose and in gratitude. Have a good week, everyone. Bye. Thanks, Mom.
Back at you.